Well, hello everyone. So glad we could be together today. And today we're going to talk about COVID. Let's talk COVID. And I know, okay, not exactly what you wanted to talk about. And it's been, a difficult week for us at World Revival Church, a tragic week. We've lost two of our members that we've been fighting for, praying for. And it's really kind of very difficult because we're very close to these people. But we're still praying for a couple more. I think for a church our size and who we are, I'm just thankful that we don't have more. Some churches are just loaded with people, in the hospital, because I know our hospitals, according to what I read, are full. But anyway, we're going to talk COVID and continue to remind you to keep praying. We'll have a prayer tomorrow night at World Revival Church, and we'll be praying for these people and believing for the people to stay healthy. But let's talk COVID anyway. First of all, months ago, we'll give a little history. We weathered the storm of COVID, at least we thought we did. And our church, we were all so happy. Remember when we first came back together in our first service, when we had been virtual, we hadn't even been together. And then we were together and we were able to take our masks off for the first time and social distancing. And we got to pray for each other. Remember the first altar call we had? We said, if you want to be prayed for today, come down. People rushed down to the front and we got to pray for people. We got to actually touch somebody's hand. And it was such a joyous time. And I don't remember how many, we didn't get to have very many services like that. I don't think it seemed like not very many. But we were so happy to be back together with all that gone, mass social distancing and that. And, I had some fun, right? Because I'm trying to get the people to start coming back to church, because people got used to being at home, used to just watching, online and virtual and all that kind of stuff. And I said, come back to church, come back to church. And so, we started trying to have fun and encourage people. That's why I did that little COVID blues thing, get over the COVID blues and come back to church. But then it wasn't just couple of weeks after we were telling people, come on back, that this COVID variant hit. And what a surprise. Not just to us, the whole world, government, everybody, we start hearing about it, but nobody thought, it's not going to be that bad, is it? Like, we're out of this, aren't we? And but then all of a sudden, it started getting worse, because I didn't take it. None of us took it that serious. You remember when they, you remember they said, they start saying you might need to start wearing masks again. And I put on the Lone Ranger mask and had a little, well, nobody knew it was going to be that bad. And boy, did that change in a hurry. At first it wasn't so bad, but then it changed in a hurry. And all of a sudden the government realized, and all of us realized, said, listen, this is really contagious. This is no joke. And this is deadly. And so, even though at World Revival Church, we were fortunate enough that we could legally meet, we canceled, if you remember, we canceled 5 services. We canceled them and just did virtual, and some of them we didn't even let the band show up. Nobody showed up. We just did virtual, or we played a sermon or something, but we didn't have 5. That's a lot. That's 5 services is a lot for us. And we did that to keep everybody safe. And then during that time, this Delta thing was serious. And like everybody else, a few of our people ended up in the hospital. And so we said it's been a rough week for us. Some have gone on to be with the Lord, and we're still praying. But anyway, here's the deal. Some people are still predicting that the COVID, variants of the COVID anyway, that COVID's still going to be around for a while. We're going to deal with this. And I don't know who's going to be right, and some people are saying, the argument on the vaccine and the masks and COVID and all. Okay. And it's arguing back and forth and back and forth. And boy, it's in the news, isn't it? Parents arguing with school systems arguing with parents, and parental rights. And well, it's just a fight everywhere, and it's in the news every day. And some people, they feel like it's their right not to wear a mask, and or take the vaccine. And as a pastor, I'm not a politician, and as a shepherd of people's lives, you have to respect. You've got to sit down and listen to people, and respect how they hurt, and what their fears are, and what their hopes are, and what their dreams are, and the kind of lives. And you got to listen to people and say, okay, I'm going to try to do everything I can to make you comfortable and respect what you believe and keep the church open at the same time, because this is the church of Jesus Christ. It's not my church or your church. So it's quite a place to be in. And but anyway, if it's going to be around for a while, and so we want to keep our church safe and do whatever we can to accommodate the feelings, the rights, the concerns of parents and people and masks and that. Uh, so in order to do that, in order to make our church as safe as possible, while at the same time allowing people to exercise their personal freedoms, if you were me, how would you do that? Woohoo! Aren't you glad you're not me? If you were me, trying to keep the church open, keep it safe, and at the same time respecting the people who want to wear masks and think you should wear masks and think you should get vaccine, and here you got a large group of people that are concerned about masks, don't want to wear masks, don't want to get vaccinated, what would you do? Well, you just keep looking and praying and looking for ways. So anyway, in order to keep people safe as possible and allowing people to exercise their freedoms, we're getting and placing. I haven't had time to talk it over with me, so this will be a surprise to everybody. But you do what you need to do quick. Anyway, and especially since we've got a couple more in the hospital, I want to make it as safe as possible. I'm placing 5 FDA-approved Class 2 medical devices in our sanctuary. Now, did you get that? They're medical. These are not air purifiers and turning a fan on and going through a HEPA filter or something like that. No, these are medical devices, 5 Class 2 FDA approved medical devices in our sanctuary. And our church is getting these. The church is going to get those and place them. They're going to place them in the sanctuary. And the reason they're going to do that, the church is going to do that, is because these machines have been proven to reduce to 99.9% the SARS-CoV-2. You know what that is? That's the virus that causes COVID-19. And so, the homework has been done. These are not gimmicks or anything like that. These are not, somebody trying to make $1 here or there and just a, guy on the street selling something. These are what's used in hospitals. NASA uses them. Sports teams use them. ESPN recommends them, and more and more and more. So I did my homework. Okay. And like I said, they're FDA approved to do that. So what we can do is the church will place those, like 5 of them in the sanctuary, and we'll keep them running 24 hours a day. Every day, we'll just keep them running into the new year. You don't even have to touch them. There's nothing you need to do to them. And they'll just keep that air. And it's not, like I said, well, we'll talk about the science later. It's very scientific, but it's not just like turning on an air blower or something like that. Anyway, so we're going to do that. And a lot of places can stay open. So we're trying to build a bridge. We're trying to build a bridge, see? So those that don't want to wear masks and those that do can. But here's a bridge. There's this scientific 99% thing going on that's working on our air all the time. Okay? So talk more about that later. But when I studied it and studied it and studied it, here's something that our church can do to make it safer at least, for COVID. And still give people the opportunity, because we can still social distance. We've got the room and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's that. So then I began to think about it. Let me see how I'm doing on visiting with you. So I began to think about this mask and no mask and all that. And have you ever thought why some people are so opposed to wearing masks? When I read about it, some people, they do use religious talk and give you the idea. Well, I was reading about it. Church, and they said, our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit, and so to put a mask on covers up the temple, and we've been created in the image of God. And when you put a mask on, you block the image of God. Not real strong theology, is it? But that's okay. They get to say their theology. But if you study it, being created in the image of God. wasn't really facial. In other words, we don't look like God, and God doesn't look like us. It's not That's not the image of God. The image of God was when He created Adam and Eve and the man and the woman. He created them in His image with the glory of God and the relationship. So they carried the glory, and then when they sinned, the glory left, and then they saw that they were naked because the glory had covered them. And that's why the Bible says all have sinned and fallen short of the glory. See, so they saw they were naked because the glory left. And so the mask thing and the image. Okay, all right, but I don't think that's it anyway. Some people talk religious talk and that, but I don't think. And of course, I can't answer for everybody, but I'm just trying to think. What's going on here a little bit. And I think for many, at least in our church and some churches and across America, I don't think, and Christians, I don't think they're opposed to masks for image of God reasons or religious reasons. Uh, I just think they don't want to be forced. I think there's a basic thing in Christians that said, I got to choose Jesus. We choose Jesus. We're not forced to follow Jesus. We choose Him. We choose. I have decided to follow Jesus. And it's a choice to choose the very best way of life. And all of a sudden, then we come and we have government force of a lifestyle. Okay, sometimes I tell people, and I know you have too, and I've heard it. Sometimes I said, what's a big deal here? It's just a mask. It's just a mask. It's just a mask. I get it. But then they answer back, yeah, and it's just the beginning with just a mask. Very, very concerned with government and others who don't believe the way we do, starting to control, starting to do it. And I think there's a lot of concern about it because they seem to be giving freedoms to a lot of other people except Christians. And so believe what you want to about that. I'm just saying it's especially concerning to a lot of conservative, Christian, Bible-believing people who now see themselves on television in sitcoms and dramas as they're the demonized people. They're always the bad people. You notice? The other groups are all, liberal lifestyles, sinful lifestyles, that the Bible calls it that, or alternate lifestyles or whatever. They're always the victims. And who are they being victimized by? Conservative Christians carrying Bibles. So you do that long enough and you place that long enough, the kids coming up and the culture coming up and the people coming up, you do that for 5-10 years, it gets into their head and they start being suspicious of Christians and conservative Christians and Bible believing Christians, and it changes a culture. And if you don't believe me, let me tell you what happened. It reminds me a lot. I've studied a lot the history of the 1930s. And here's what happened in Europe in the 20s and 30s. They began to blame Jews for their problems. There were people prejudiced against Jews, no doubt about that. But they began to characterize them as the problem and blame and blame and blame. So, when the economy was bad and people didn't have enough money, they'd like to go down to the store and buy more food, and the food wasn't there and the money wasn't there. What do you think they said? It's the Jews, because they got your money. The Jews, they own the banks and they got your money. It's their fault. And just go through, and it's their fault. And it's their fault. And then they began to portray him and say, you can't trust the Jews. You can't. Don't let your kids get around these Jewish people now. Don't let your kids get around them. Well, you see, you go on television, and that's you'll get they'll start having these shows about people blowing up buildings and all that. And then when they catch the guy it's a white guy with a Bible, and you better be careful. That's the kind of people they are. And pastors they always, every time they have a show on with a pastor in it, I got to turn it off because I know what they're going to do. I know what's coming. So there's real concern, not about just a mask, but where is it going to end when you see the portrayal of conservative Christians being forced into something? As we see in Europe and through history, but just recent history, 30s into the 40s, where force was on a one religious group, the Jews, and they were forced, and they were made out to be monsters, worthless, to be feared, and they were controlling, and your problems were because of them. You can see it today. And so I kind of get it. I know it's just a mask, and I didn't fight it when they said do it. I wore it when we had to wear them to church. I wore them to church. Yeah, I did. I look around and I'd see some people didn't, and I didn't say anything, but now we have the freedom at our church. We don't have to, but some will, some won't. So I wanted to put in these machines to even give us more freedom and less fear of the COVID and less fear of government telling us what to do, because I saw what it did. So I don't think people are as anti-mask as they are anti-government control. That's what I think it is. Yeah, there's few people in religions getting it, but it's anti-government control of personal freedoms is a scary thing. It's scary when you've seen it in history and you watch television, you watch the news, and you see all these laws and ideas and all these pushing stuff into our schools, pushing stuff into our culture, pushing stuff, trying to change the Supreme Court, trying to change constitutional laws and everything they're doing. If you're a Bible believing person and you go like, wait a minute, that's not the kind of things I believe. And you say, how come they're getting to push all this stuff through? They didn't ask me. I didn't vote for it. Well, there you go. And so it's concerning. It's very concerning. And then you do have some folks that have come over from and grown up in communism or grown up in Chinese communism, whatever other countries where they didn't have freedoms, or North Korea. And they're coming over here saying, hey, you better watch it, because I grew up in a country that this is exactly what happened. And look how it has swept through. Look at how the pressure, whether we do it or not, the pressure is on to a new agenda in our public schools. And look how fast it is being pushed, how hard it is being pushed. And the parents don't get to vote for it. Parents don't get to vote for it. They have no right. They go before the school board and they plead and they plead and they plead and they do. And then the school board sends them out and votes and says, nope, we're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it anyway. And the parents will go before the school board and plead and plead and plead. Says, let's not force our little kids to wear masks. They'll go out the door. School board said, nope, we're going to do masks. They have no rights. And that is what we're up against today. And I think what the real issue is, okay, it's just a mask. We get it. But the real thing is we're concerned about the country is changing, where the group that are being demonized are Bible-believing conservative Christians. So without a real move of God, the freedom of religion, especially for Christians, in my opinion, is going to continue to go away. So here I am trying to preach, revival to a generation that is hard-hearted and selfish, into itself, entertainment and all that, trying to grab the hearts, right, of a generation to say, do you see what's going on around? And if you're concerned about it, then you need to join in prayer and attitude, and not just say America needs a revival, say the church needs a revival, and let it begin with me. I'm going to get more dedicated. I'm going to go every time I can go to church. I'm going to go to church more dedicated. I'm going to get serious about God. Somebody has to get serious about God until we get a real move of God, and God breaks through the heavens and comes down, especially to help save Christianity and bring the real thing to America before persecution comes to Christians, just like it did the Jews of the past. Thank you for letting me talk about COVID and kind of go back and walk through this and understand where we are today. It's a hard place to be, whether you're a politician or a pastor, but thanks for letting me talk about it. And until next time, bye-bye.